Welcome back to Divorce Den, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about step 3 in our 7-part series on ways that you can save money on attorney and professional fees if you're thinking about getting divorced. Part 1, we talked about choosing the right professionals. Very important. Part 2, we talked about your part of being prepared. Again, extremely important in ways that you can save money. Today, step 3 is going to be don't go to court. Choose an alternative that prevents you from having to go to court ever. You don't have to go to court for a conference. You don't have to go to court to file any documentation. You don't have to go to court ever. By choosing either divorce mediation or the collaborative model, we can resolve all of your issues as if you were in court, meaning that you'd have all of the protections, you'd have all of the disclosure and the financial accuracy and transparency, but you'd never have to go to the courthouse. Today, let's dive into the ways that divorce mediation or the collaborative divorce model really can help set you apart in your divorce while saving you money. Now, from the start, I want to be very clear that what we're talking about today are process options. Again, I'm not giving anyone legal advice here. I'm not your attorney. I'm talking to you about ways that you can get divorced that do not include court. Something else that I will say is some of these models are not right for everyone. The out of court options are generally for people who can at least agree to stay in the process. It doesn't mean that you have to agree on everything. It doesn't mean that you have to get along 100% or you have to give more than you think or receive more than you think. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that you have to agree to stay in mediation or to stay in the collaborative process. They're process options that a lot of people think are only for people who get along really well. No, there could still be a lot of conflict. There could be a lot of chaos. There could be a tremendous amount of disagreement. But as long as you agree to stay in that process to save the time and the money, it really can benefit you and your family in the long run. However, don't feel that you have to stay in one of these options, even if you choose it from the beginning. If you're feeling unsafe, if you're feeling unsupported, if you're feeling like you really need the support and the structure and the guidance of the court, you always have that right. I don't want anyone to think that I poo-poo court altogether. I just know that the way that the court system works and the way that they're inundated with so many cases, starting out in a place that doesn't include the court system is right for most people, but it might not be right for you. So first, you want to consider what those alternative options to court are. As I mentioned, divorce mediation is very big. Most people do know what it is, but I'm just going to very briefly explain what it is here. You and your spouse would hire a mediator who's a third party, somebody who doesn't work for one or the other, but works for both of you, and is going to help the both of you resolve your issues, whether it's custody, whether it's selling the house, whether it's your pets, no matter what. They're going to help you listen to what the issues are, help collate everything, put it down on paper, and help you come up with options, help you brainstorm about ways that it might work for you. This person is not going to represent either one of you, even if that person's an attorney. They can't represent you in court. Like, I'm going to represent spouse A, and then spouse B can just kind of sit in on the mediation sessions. No, that's not how it works. That mediator works for both of you, listens to both of your concerns, your issues, and helps you craft solutions that will be able to be put into a stipulation of settlement and filed down the road. That's generally what mediation is. There's a lot of nuances to it, but basically that's what it is. Collaborative divorce is similar in that you never have to go to court, but you both have your own attorneys, and then you have other support systems. And we meet in the same way that you would with a divorce mediator outside of court, and we start to, again, listen to what it is that your issues are and your concerns, and together as a team, we craft resolutions that might work for you into the future. And when I say team, that includes you. Nobody's making decisions for you. In divorce mediation or in the collaborative model, nobody makes the final decision for you. We're not judges. We're not arbitrators. We are not decision makers. We're your support system. Whether we're talking about divorce mediation or we're talking about the collaborative model, the buy-in for the both of you is that you're agreeing you're not going to court. You're going to stay in this model even when it gets hard, even when it seems like things might not be going your way. We as a team, we as the individual mediator, we are trained in ways to help support you and ensure that we can get over that hump. and we can make sure that you are heard, you are supported, you do have the resources you need, and we can help you move forward. When you're in court, you don't receive that same support. Now, I'm not saying that courts don't care, but at the end of the day, they really are very, very inundated. The courts have a tremendous caseload. Each judge has a tight calendar, and they have to keep cases moving forward, and they don't have time to spend an hour to an hour and a half of their resources on your case alone because they have all of these cases coming behind them. So know that these out of court solutions like mediation and collaborative divorce can really hone in on what it is that you need now and in the future and help you overcome whatever the obstacles are. Typically, these out of court options can help you resolve the cases much, much quicker. So, just as I was saying, the courts are inundated with cases. If one judge has 500 cases, and there are many judges who have significantly more, sometimes double that amount, if you have one judge who has 500 cases, how much time do you think that they can really devote to your case? They don't. So generally what happens is they have a conference, both of the attorneys are there, you're there, and they hear a very, very narrow, limited set of issues, and then they push it forward. So now you come back in another month or 2 months, and hopefully you can resolve that one issue. And then it keeps going and keeps going until hopefully all of the issues are resolved. That can take several years. In mediation or in the collaborative model, our focus can be on the big picture, and then we can hone in on individual needs, individual issues that need to be addressed a little bit more timely. Think about us spending an hour together, hashing out all of the issues, trying to come up with solutions, seeing how they play out on paper, seeing how they play out in real life, and making them work for you between now and our next session, which could be 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever your time frame is, as opposed to you going to court and a judge who doesn't know you, who doesn't know your family, who has to read the file just to remember who it is that they have in front of them, says, okay, I'm going to hear this one limited issue, and you have about 10 to 15 minutes to discuss it, and then they say, okay, come back in 2 months. Think about the difference in how much time is spent and how much work can be accomplished and how much we can actually move your case forward. It's very, very different. Litigation is not designed to save you time or money. When we're talking about being in court, and even though you only have that 10, 15 minutes before the judge or the judge's law clerk or whoever their personnel is, you're still paying for your professional's time. Your attorney still has to be there. Your attorney has to prep for that case. They have to show up there on time. They have to take their notes afterwards. They have to prepare for the next court appearance. The wasted resources and the way that resources are spent is really, really astounding when you compare it to divorce mediation or collaborative and litigation. When you're talking about using your professional's time in ways that make sense to you, again, especially if you're prepared, you have the right professionals in place and you can get them everything they need, think about how much quicker everything can be done. All of the time and energy that is spent in court is a lot of it is wasted. It's just time and money that goes poof when we've only talked about that one limited issue. And then we have to do it again to talk about the next issue for the next conference. Where over here in divorce mediation or collaborative, we can really take that time and money and use your resources so efficiently. Really hone in on exactly what it is that you need and what it is that you want. And there is another added benefit that a lot of people often overlook. Not only can this be quicker, this can move a little bit faster, but there is so much less conflict. And when you are thinking about getting divorced or separated, think about the conflict that's already there. You don't need more. You don't need this added pressure of an outside system that says, okay, you need to move it along. You need to follow our timeline. You need to make sure that you have X, Y, and Z by the next conference or you're going to be penalized. That conflict, that external conflict, only adds to your internal conflict or the conflict that you're having with your spouse. You don't need that. It's not benefiting you. It's not benefiting your children. It's not going to benefit your future. So something that a lot of times people don't think about is how much emotional turmoil they're already in. Going to court is not going to lessen that by any degree. Another way that you can save money by choosing an alternative is the two of you working together. Even when we are assisting clients who are in divorce mediation or the collaborative model, as much as possible and as much as you're comfortable, we encourage you to speak to each other, resolve issues together, talk about what it is that you want to do with the house. If you're both in agreement with that, We don't need to spend time at the table going over, oh, let's figure out our options for the house. You've both worked on that, you've both thought about it, and you've both agreed. So then what we can do is go over that with you and make sure that it's viable and that it will work and that it's something that we can schedule out, put on paper, put in the stipulation, and if it works, that's great. We don't need to do it. Same thing when it comes to custody or child support. A lot of times families have already worked that out, especially if you've been separated for a long time. If you already have a pretty good working relationship as far as custody, as far as who's paying for what for the children, and you've decided you want to do expense sharing instead of formal support, we will absolutely help you codify that and put it into an agreement that works for you. And again, even if you're in divorce mediation or the collaborative model, the more you two can agree on, the less sessions you have to have with all of the professionals, with your attorney, or with the facilitator, or with the financial neutral, or with the mediator. If you've worked on these things, you can send them everything, as we talked about in on another video where we talked about being prepared. Have all of that written out and send it over to the professionals. That will save you a tremendous amount of time. It really will. And it will help you get clear. It'll help you gain clarity on things that, oh, wait a minute, you know what? We thought we had this worked out, but as I'm writing it down, maybe there's a few gaps. And then the mediator or your attorney or other professionals can help you fill in those gaps. And lastly, choosing this out of court option, no matter what that option is, really helps you be a much more efficient decision maker. You can make decisions that are much more meaningful to your family, and you can do it in a way that you don't feel the pressure that you do from court. Just as I was saying earlier, when you go to court and sometimes there's just that limited issue, imagine feeling the pressure of a judge or their personnel or your attorney or just the system looking at you saying, okay, well, let's decide on that. Let's decide on that. What school are Jack and Jill going to go to? Did the two of you work on this? You're living in separate households. Let's decide that. Let's get that now and put that down in writing. I've heard judges do that because, again, they just don't have the time. So think about how you have to make a decision in that moment as opposed to being given the space and being able to make it in a much more efficient manner and a more meaningful manner. The more you and your spouse can communicate outside of the court system, it really will lend itself well to you having crafted an agreement that works for you, that is meaningful to you, and that you're going to both be able to live with. You don't want to be dictated to by a court and they put down, you have to live by these terms, and then the both of you look at it later and say, I don't really think I can live by these terms. So our third step in the 7-step process is choosing an out-of-court model. I hope that some of these tips were helpful to you and that you understand that you do have options. When it comes to getting divorced, you do not have to run to the courthouse. It's not going to save you any time. It's certainly not going to save you any money. So please consider these out-of-court options if you're thinking about getting divorced. If you have any questions or any comments, please send them over to us. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to engage with you on ways that we can help you set yourself up for success in the future. And if you know anyone who will find any value in this video, please like, share, comment. And we look forward to seeing you the next time on The Divorced Den for step number 4.